Hello and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host Brian. We're going to wrap up today with a special selection, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes from Armando, FARMACIA's Las Horas. So that's what we're going to check out today. I'm not familiar with this group at all. However, it looks like this music video came out middle of last year and the album was still ahead of it. Forthcoming album. So I'm going to assume that this album came out sometime last year. Let's dive into it and see what they're bringing to the table today. I like that effect. Okay. So this is the chorus. I'm finally picking up. It says the title of the song right here. So there's very little change musically from the instrumental part or even the vocal delivery between the verse and the chorus, which is what kind of confused me a little bit. But we are in our second post-chorus here. I do like that though. Tying the musical melody there. And both the second verse and this third verse have started off with a repetition of the first chord. Third? I think there is. It pans from right to left and it's quite a bit higher. Higher in pitch. You heard it? The higher pitched one. Doing a little bit of the mixing. The post-chorus melody line with the backup vocal ahs from the chorus. All right. Not a lot to dig into on this one. Like 90% of the song uses, maybe all the song uses one idea. So we have a three chord idea happening in the harmony. The bass primarily showcases this with its bouncing back and forth between two notes. And we can hear that it does one chord, and then a second chord, then a third chord, and then replays that third chord for the fourth bar. That is the progression that exists through a majority of this. However, there are some places like the beginning of the second verse and what I thought was the beginning of the third verse, but was actually beginning of the chorus after the extended bridge in the middle, was that we'll stick on that first chord four times through, filling up that usual four bar phrase, but instead of going through the progression, we just stick with it. There's usually less instrumentation. I think that the higher range synth isn't around, and there's a guitar tone. Oh, you know what? I think the drums even pull out here a little bit as well. Anyways, we reduce the layers quite a bit, and then we just sit on this one chord. The vocals sing on top of it, and then we move back into the full four chord progression while also bringing in the full set of layers as well. That's really the only time that we get away from that four chord progression. The bass also doesn't really change anything that it does across this track. We do have a little bit of this alternating melody where the vocals typically have the melody, but if they're not present, we have that bum 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 bum, that synthesizer melody that exists. Even the vocals, though, themselves are on a very tight loop as far as removing the words and focusing just on rhythm and pitch. Much like the synth melody that we have, it is a very short idea that just gets repeated over and over and over. The words change, the music doesn't. And so the verse really is one four bar idea played over and over and over, and the chorus is that same four bar idea with a different melody played on top of it. Well, I should say slightly different melody played on top of it, and some additional backing tracks because we have the that is used to supplement a little bit of sound in underneath where we would have a gap, and it fills in some space that the primary vocals don't fill. And that's honestly the entire song. We have verse, chorus, and then the synthesizer melody post-chorus. We do another verse, chorus, that synthesizer post-chorus. Then we do an extended synthesizer post-chorus, which I guess you can call a bridge. There is a slight change of pace here, but generally it's a lot of the same thing that we've heard, just sticks with the synthesizer longer. We return back to a chorus, and then a verse, and then a chorus. It all sort of blends together, though. As I mentioned, the only real differentiation I really hear between the verse and the chorus is the vocals. If you listen to any of the musicality of it, there's just a lot of similarity, a lot of overlap, and so I find it kind of difficult to hear a difference between the two. In fact, I even mentioned it at the beginning. Oh, the second chorus came around, I was like, that's the chorus. I didn't know that. I thought we just had a really long verse so far, because there really isn't much of a difference between the two. I do like, however, though, that there are some change-ups. The bridge does bring an extended post-chorus. We do get a little bit more of that. We do begin to bring in some more elements from the chorus outside of it, such as the backing track, that comes in and is played against the synthesizer melody at one point in the song. Nice little change of pace there. There is a second backing track added to some of the later choruses that is much higher pitched than anything else. It provides a nice bit of note contrast, and it also pans from side to side, providing some movement there as well. They're little things, little additions and changes to the formula, but in something as static as this, small changes can have really big impact. The last thing I want to bring up before we hit lyrics is the tone of all of this. There's something very ominous and creepy about it. The bass and the drums give me like, I don't know what genre. It's electronic. I don't know what genre of electronic music it is though. But it just makes me want to dance to it. It has a good solid beat. It's consistent. Um, it's just a very safe feel to it all. But the thing is that the atmosphere around it, the notes being chosen, and also the dissonance in the harmony, particularly with the vocals, all gives a sense of tension and unease to the entire song. Now, with a song about the hours, and somebody did have a clock prop throughout pieces of this music video, does make me think that this is going to be a bit more of a negative take on time, more so than a positive take on time. So I am looking forward to hitting the lyrics on this to see how this all kind of comes together. But the idea of dancing through something uneasy, especially something that might have to do with time or the passage of time, I think makes a lot of sense. But I'd want to hold my thoughts on this until I read the lyrics to ensure that I'm not wasting anyone's time and I'm not talking about stuff that isn't what the song is talking about. So, with all that said, let me hit some lyrics and see what's going on here. Alright, well, I did a general web search, looked on Genius, I even checked Bandcamp and Spotify. I found no lyrics for them. So, I guess I'm just going to go based off of where I was going, which is, if this is about time passing us by, there is certainly something ominous about that. It's our most precious resource, but we oftentimes don't feel it pass. It's one of those shocking horrors when you realize that 2024 is half over already and it feels like we just started. So, not that that has anything to do with anything. uh yeah, so it's this idea that it's so easy to dance through something that is sort of terrifying. That's what I get out of the music and its relationship to the hours as a title of the song. It's really easy just to get into the groove and start going with it, but when you really listen to the chord progressions, when you listen to the melodies, when you listen to the dissonance in the vocal deliveries, there's something unsettling. When you pay attention, like, oh, dang, time is flying by. But man, that groove is pretty good, huh? And you just get back into it. And it's easy to get into this concept of just sort of forgetting about time, and that leads into poor decision making as far as time goes. And not making the best of your time, which is like a really vague phrase anyways, and it means different things for different people, but still the concept that sometimes we make decisions that aren't necessarily maximizing our time efficiency on this planet, and we do waste time doing stuff, which isn't always bad, but we do enough of it, and a whole year goes by and we feel like we have nothing to show for it. No growth, no new skills learned. We're starting the next year the same way we started the last year, and it can feel like we're wasting time. And I think that's what this song means to me, at least from a non-lyrical standpoint. If anybody wants to take the time to transcribe and then translate these lyrics, or just transcribe them, I mean, I can get a rough Google Translate if I need to. But I'd be interested in hearing what they're singing about. They're a smaller group. They only have 2,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. They only have like 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Yeah. Which is interesting because according to Spotify, they've been at this for 20 years. So lots of experience under their belt. But anyways, yeah, I mean, the only way for me to find lyrics would be if they released them, and they don't seem to be too interested in doing that themselves. So, yeah, I guess that wraps up my thoughts on Farmacia's Las Horas. Let me know what you thought of this track, if there's anything that stood out to you, anything you'd like to add on to what I said, or correct me on, or just give me your general thoughts, opinions, and perspectives on it. Toss all that stuff down in the comments. Above that, in the description box, you'll find a link to Linktree. It takes you to this menu. You can find links to my music, ways to support the channel, a link to the Discord server, and so much more. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three of those. That wraps it up for today, but I'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. UTC as usual. We're going to continue on with this week's theme of supergroups. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever you choose to watch my videos.